What's up, everybody, and welcome to BioS3 Raw TV. Today we're going to do a little Q&A. Let me get this camera angle right again. Stupid camera angles. Haven't got this right for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks now. So what I do is just try to take the comments in the comment section and some of the things that I think that I could touch on and talk about that might help other people out. Rather than commenting on them with so many characters and stuff, we just take them and talk about them. So the one I'm looking at right now is by Bugs, B-U-U-U-U-G-S. He says, is it the same if a person goes over his maintenance with 1,000 calories coming from fat versus 1,000 calories coming from carbs? Now, someone already answered it and said, basically, well, if you go over in fat, you're going to store it as fat. Now, that's not necessarily true. And this boils down to the whole calories a calorie bullshit. If you're on a keto diet and you go over 1,000 calories of fat, you are going to store less fat, hands down, than you would if you were on a high carb diet and went over 1,000 calories with high carbs. It depends on the person, it depends on the diet, it depends on the hormonal situation that you've caused through the diet and the training. So if you're doing, you went over 1,000 calories from carbs, but you did the stair mill and burned 1,500 calories on the stair mill in an hour, then obviously even though you went over what you were taking in, it may not affect you than if someone who didn't do the stair mill at all. So again, it depends on the situation. It could or could not. Hash Daman made a comment that said, Advil at normal doses is not going to fuck up your kidneys, and Tylenol at normal doses isn't going to fuck up your liver. Wrong. A 200 milligram dose, which you can't take any less than 200 milligrams unless you're taking a liquid children's Advil. That's the normal dosage of one tablet. One tablet a day was fucking up someone that I trained kidney-wise while he was taking it for arthritis on his toe. So yes, it can absolutely fuck with your kidneys. He has no predisposed kidney issues. It depends on whether the person's body can handle it or not. The bottom line is the shit can be very toxic, and if you don't even know it, it's fucking you up and you don't even know it. All of a sudden you go get a blood test or a piss test done, and they're freaking out because your kidneys are not functioning right because you've been taking Advil. So that's bullshit. It's a myth. Yes, it definitely can fuck you up. Mobina SLK 320 Ben says, can you explain a video about androgen receptors and steroids? So basically, I'm going to leave the question at that because that's part of the question. This is an interesting one because there are theories, okay, scientific theories. There's no set information out there about how the steroid receptor works or how it downgrades or upregulates or anything like that. Dan Duchesne used to think that the steroid receptors upregulate after a certain amount of androgens being plugged into them. Other people seem to think that they downregulate. Now, what I can tell you is, for instance, let's say I take DECA for 6 weeks. I take 600 milligrams of DECA for 6 weeks. I'm going to get the effects of the DECA, get bigger, get stronger, etc., but I'm not going to get any of the side effects. Now, if I went on the same dosage of DECA for 5 months, now I still get the same effects, but now I get acne, oily skin, you may get stuff like hair loss, but I mean, I have thin hair to begin with, but the bottom line is I start to get the symptoms of, or the side effects start to outweigh the effects the longer that I stay on them. So technically, Dan Duchesne's theory was the more you take, the longer you take, they upregulate and they work better, but technically for me, it didn't work like that. So I think it depends on the person. There's no set answer either way. So Bonsai 13 1015 asked me if I count my macros or if I just eat. So it seems like all the pros who kind of maintain just eat normal and don't worry. During the off season, I don't count my macros. I don't count my calories. I don't count anything. I just eat. What I do is I eat probably about 80% clean and 20% junk food, which is usually like a junk meal every day. So I eat like 6 or 7 clean meals a day. And, I'll have a burger at night, or pizza, or burritos, or another one of my go-tos from Trader Joe's. But basically, I'm not counting anything. I can judge by where my body fat is, how heavy I am, etc., as to where I need to be. As far as dieting for a show, I don't count macros, nor do I count calories. I don't count any of that. What I do is I have a meal macro that I set. So let's say it's 50 grams of protein, 30 grams of carbs, and 17 grams of fat. Now, every time I'm hungry, that's what I eat. So it could be 7 meals a day, it could be 10 meals a day, it could be 4 meals a day, it could be 15 meals a day. It depends on how many times I'm hungry. And some people like to add more calories on their leg day because they figure expending more energy. I found that maybe the day after my leg day, which is when I'm recovering and I'm spent, a lot of times I need more calories on that day. So, if I was going by a set schedule, I could be robbing myself of growth by sticking to a schedule my body doesn't want to and doesn't give a shit about what kind of schedule I want. So what I do is follow my hunger. Now, you can't just jump into this and do it. You have to know your body. You have to understand how it's working. You have to understand the signals, interpret the biofeedback, and know when to do what. If you don't know that stuff, you're going to fail at this, hands down. I've seen it over and over again. I've seen people eat when hungry, and they fail miserably. But the ones who really, really get the best results and get the most out of their physiques, a lot of pro bodybuilders, a lot of, Sean Ray, for instance, never counted calories and macros, ever. Kevin Levrone, he would eat so many meals, he would have this ounces of chicken, a cup of rice or whatever, it would be a cup. He wouldn't be counting the grams. He said, I could have a cup of rice, have 10 ounces of chicken, and that would be a meal. So, and a cup of vegetables. So it was like he would measure it out, but he wasn't really counting anything. And this is what these guys do because they know their bodies, and they don't stick to a piece of paper because a piece of paper is limiting. So if these scientific community guys have all their formulas and you stick to the paper and your body doesn't want to do it, you're robbing yourself of results. And until you really get to know your body, you'll never max out your results, and that's just the way it is. I don't care what anybody says. I hate Scott Herman. This guy's a troll who likes to fuck around. He likes to bust my balls. Now, what I'm doing is not answering this to Scott Herman, because I could give a fuck about you. I hate Scott Herman or whatever the fuck that is. The bottom line is, some of you are like, yeah, what about that? How does that work? And what I'm talking about is he talks about how I think that bloat, water retention, directly leads to fat gain. Now, okay, this is to clear it up to you guys who really want to know about this. I said that if I eat Doritos, I retain water, and then I start to gain fat. Now, there are different kinds of water retention. There's water retention if you go on a high altitude in a plane for a long time, you retain water. Too much sodium, you retain water. Too many carbs, you retain water. Hot days when you start to dehydrate. If you come in from the hot weather outside, you'll have a layer of water. You'll be retaining water. This is not the same thing. Okay, and what the water retention from those specific foods are, it's like in your car. When your check engine light goes on, doesn't mean your engine has failed. It's letting you know something is going to happen if you don't fucking put this in check and see what's going on. And that's exactly what happens. And the only way I know this is because I know my body. It's not a scientific thing. It's not I sat down and read it in a book. It's not something anybody taught me. It's something that happened to me over and over again. It consisted of a pattern. And to this day, it's still a pattern. Certain foods that make me retain water that fast like that and make me feel ill and make me feel sluggish, those are the ones that make me gain fat. If I stick to the other foods, I don't retain water, I don't gain fat, and I don't feel sluggish. So as you see, there's warning signs before you actually start to gain fat, that if you can interpret, you can then change that before you gain fat. If your check engine light goes off in your car and you bring it to the mechanic, he fixes something out real quick, the car never breaks down. Okay, so that's the same thing. I see the water retention, I feel the sluggishness, I feel like shit after I eat it. Don't eat it again. Take it out of your diet so that you get the optimal results and don't gain fat. So that's how that works. And Peter Frank says, do I advise bulking and cutting 500 cal surplus and then take off the fat, or a slow bulk? See, you guys with this 500 surplus, 500 deficit, you guys with these calculations are robbing yourself of real results. You really are. Because what you're trying to do is calculate this, calculate that, and then force your body to follow a piece of paper, and it's not going to fucking do it. It may do it at first, but it's going to adapt and tell you to go fuck yourself, and then you're going to have to reduce the calories again. That's not how it works. My advice to anybody who wants to bulk, don't get fucking fat. Eat your protein, eat your carbs, eat your good fats, and if you start to get fat, do a little bit of cardio. If you start to get fat, cut back on the carbs a little bit. Don't sit there and try to fucking do those calculations, because it may be completely wrong. It cannot take your individual metabolism into account. Some of these formulas are like slow metabolism 1, high metabolism 10, medium metabolism 5, multiply by those numbers. How the fuck does it know? There's everything under the sun in between. It's not fucking black and white. There's gray all over the place. There's no way to understand individual metabolism except for you to see what's going on in the mirror and feeling what's going on in your body. And that's how you change. So stay leaner. Don't bulk up and get fat unless you don't care. You know what I mean? I can bulk up 60 pounds and drop it for a competition in 12 weeks, so it doesn't matter to me if I get fat. Some people, though, they bulk up 20 pounds and they keep it. They can't get it off. So if you're one of those people, then yeah, don't bulk up. Stay lean, gain slowly. Even if you gain a pound a month of lean muscle tissue, that's 12 pounds a year. That's 36 pounds in 3 years. Do you know how much muscle tissue that is? I mean, actual lean tissue? That's a shitload of lean tissue. So that's it for the Q&A today. Now, I'm going to give you guys the email address, bios3training@gmail.com. This address is not, for those of you who are new to the channel, for you to write to me and ask me about steroid cycles, to ask me to write you cycles, to ask me to tell you how to use steroids, to tell you where to get them. I do not sell them. Do not write to me and ask me about steroids. I don't want to answer these questions. Whatever I put on YouTube is what you're going to get. It's blatant information, it's general information, and stuff you can't find anywhere else. But I'm not a fucking steroid guru, and I'm not going to help you with your cycles and shit. So please stop emailing, asking me about drugs and how to cut fat and fucking DNP and all this other shit. Because I'm just going to tell you straight out, I don't give that advice. And, you know, you're just going to be left up Schitt's Creek anyways, because, you know, I don't do that stuff. So www.biologytraining.com is the blog. Leave the comments and questions down below, and we're out.